So with regard to emotional prosperity, I think that that was very much it's not about being selfish if we choose ourselves. That's the first part, because an empty hand can't give. And if we are not taking the time to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, that we are leading by example, that we're leading and doing, and we are whole, then prosperity would always remain elusive. And so when I wrote Create Your Own Table, when you think about the premise, the primary of a purpose of a table is to serve. And so the four legs that hold up my table, and for everyone is different. Your table may be smaller, your table may be larger, but in the final chapter of my book, I referred to the four pillars. And it's essentially also so this is my book, Create Your Own Table, a guide to discovering your purpose. And the pillars, my first pillar, for example, is intuition. The second is understanding what is your why. The third is the questions you ask or the problems you solve. And the fourth is don't let your destination become your limitation. And so because we all get to these points where you start to have that voice that we spoke about earlier. I think Alexandria spoke about that, just is just speaking and constantly in your head. Sometimes we just need these little quick resources to tap into. And so I created a quote deck, and each one of them would discuss. So for example, on this one, the questions you ask are the problems you solve. And on here it's written, what you once struggled through will become a breakthrough for someone else. And I, again, I think part of that prosperity comes in wanting to share and listening to everyone. It sounds like we have all built on our own stories. There's something that we learned, there's an experience that we had, and we realize, hold on a second, there's a gap. And exactly like Alexandria stated, I am my ideal, I am my ideal client. I created this, and exactly with Val also, I created this anti, I mean, truly everyone, I created everything that I do because I understood where people would get stuck. I realized that if I'm having this challenge, other people are having these challenges also. And so I didn't go through all of this for no reason, right? And we can be a genuine asset. The other pillar for me, what is your why? And on here, for example, on this card, purpose isn't found in a job title, it's found in our story. And stories are what connect. It's what every single one of you who have shared your story today, I'm like, yes, I get that. It makes sense, but you don't ever want, at least for myself, when I had a sales team, for example, when I was in the alcohol business, the entire premise. So to backtrack for those of you who are not familiar, I worked with Craft Distillers. So this is after I was an environmental consultant and I end up in the alcohol business. And I interviewed, my book called Discovering the New York Craft Spirits Boom. I interviewed 30 distillers throughout New York State. And it became evident, and they trusted me because I took the time to do that. So there's absolutely, trust is critical in any aspect of life, living, business. And they trusted me to be able to share their story and tell their brands. And I realized that as I went into all of the liquor stores, as I was working to promote and place their brands, all of these buyers were saying yes, not really just because they wanted a new alcohol that was just considerably more expensive than everything that they had. They were all connecting to the story. As the distillers shared their story with me, I then shared my reason for doing all of this, and then I am then sharing it with them, and they were all passing it along. And I think there's so much value in learning how to tell our stories and share our stories in a way that people feel connected with you. I do think it's often very hard to be vulnerable because you don't want to be judged. But, and as I'm sure as Val could attest, depending on the level of trauma or difficulty of what it is that you've been to, if you've gotten to this stage where you're able to stand on your story and pull other people up, it's not that we're better than you are. We're just simply, at least I'll speak for myself, I'm simply further along. We're all on the same journey. there is eternal growth. There is never that. And back to don't let your destination become your limitation. I think this is one of the things that a lot of, again, thinking about prosperity, you're so focused on this is what I want to have, be, place, do whatever, you lose the journey along the way. And if you think that this other thing, well, I wanted to get here faster, not realizing that there's so much value in the detours. I often say failure is education, it's the education that you get without the student loans at the end. It is that invaluable experience that when things are going great, you'll never get it. And I mean, how amazing it must be to coast. I say that because I have no idea what that feels like. So for those people who live that life, I'm happy for you. But I'm like, if I didn't have my challenges, I would be useless. I would have absolutely nothing to share. I would have no business, no brand, no nothing, because it really was just built on owning all of those challenges. And I think the biggest part of all of this is, and what I lead with, is trusting your intuition. So like all of these, so this is a 52 card deck. I'm just pulling out randoms, right? Just, hey, let's go with it. So stop. Oh, this is probably one of my favorites, but they all kind of are. It's like choosing a favorite child. So in trust your intuition, stop asking for directions from people who've never been where you want to go. How many times? Because I feel like, when we are feeling insecure, you're not certain, and then you ask opinions. All of a sudden now you think that what you're doing is incorrect. So I was like, no, if you want to know the path ahead, ask the person who's coming back, not the person who's never been there, because then you start to take on all this other energy that doesn't fulfill and lift us up. And it's not that the people around us don't want us to be prosperous, but often, if you are not clear on what that changes that you like in your life, you begin to become afraid that you're offending them by wanting something different. And then you start to feel as though I need to play small so that you're comfortable. But then what does that do? There's no growth, there's no development, there's no nothing. And so, what is your why? This is like where the light bulb goes on for everyone. So in this one, you're not lost. You've just been serving everyone else but yourself. And it's the why question, right? Why am I doing any of these things? The why is what really helps you to be in true alignment. And so I want to just take the opportunity to share why it is that I do what I do, because I do believe that we genuinely get one go around in this life. And I don't think that all of the experiences that I had was wasted in anyway. And so in my mind, prosperity is really being able to holistically just provide that guidance. And that's all any of us can do. We can't force anyone to me, because we're all in service in one way or another. We can't make anyone do we anything that we have had results from. But again, it's respecting that we're individuals also. And because this has worked for me, it's not necessarily going to work for you. And being open and selfless enough, back to also to emotional intelligence. It's like, all right, I get this. And so what is your why? And guiding through them, not necessarily like we will use our lives as guide rails, but ultimately it's pulling out the spirit within that person. So those are my thoughts on emotional prosperity.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry, I've moved plots with here, but
It's okay.
no, no, but it's been amazing. I've been sitting here listening to you all, and I've been just inspired because here we are, you women and men, of course, we're facing a time, and you've isolated for us, Heather, the perspective of trauma and circumstance, and
Yes.
yet you put into context. We have to use these
Yeah.
as tools to empower us as we struggle and strive to move forward.
Yes.
Forward, forward. No matter what, forward. But we can't let the idea of being and moving forward compel and overwhelm us in what we're and the interaction and the experiences that we're engaging in. But I mean, even in our current political scenarios and career objectives and what we can pursue and achieve. I mean, some of the greatest achievements in the history of our culture have occurred during times that people faced
Absolutely.
tremendous obstacles, and you have
Absolutely.
to see. I mean, I was compelled by what Alexandria said was, "I'm my best patient."
Mm-hmm.
my
It's true.
best victories have occurred with me.
Yeah.
And the visions that I'm pursuing, they're based upon my own life, and I can only help reflect with other people what they can achieve during their
Exactly.
circumstances as well. And so this is an important time for us to realize what that means and what we're able to achieve and to get to and the conquered and what that means. I'm inspired by you, ladies. I mean, you're just instead of, but this is it does remind me that these are amazing times. These
Absolutely.
are amazing times, and we're required to do amazing things,
Things,
no matter what. I reflect on this so often. We, the unwilling, led by the unknowing, doing for the ungrateful, have been decided to do. We have been destined to do anything with nothing.
mm,
So yeah, so you never reflect on what you look back and say, I don't have this and I don't have that and I don't have this and so what? This is the time that you need to conquer and achieve and step forward in spite of circumstances. And how can you share that with other children or youth? Because I mean, they're the ones that are following your trail. And they're
true.
the ones that come behind you, and you need to give them something to hold on to, and something that they can. That's something deep to think about and
Mm-hmm.
ponder on. And our culture, though, our culture, and we were on the podcast earlier with women. I think of women from Bali and from the UK, and cultures around the world. I had a client yesterday from France, and who's trying to explore and pursue a market in America. And now, and but I'm excited by the prospect that we are now really, yeah, exploring what a global culture looks like. I mean, and not don't be consumed. America's a great country, but there are bigger parts of the world than just America, and we've got it going on now. But I mean, who knows? What does it say? In some places, one eye in a blind world, a one-eyed person is king. So, even if you have one eye and you see more than most people do, it still makes you brighter, sharper, cleaner, more careful, and capable. And so I'm inspired by you all. And so let us not forget that what I have and what I know and what I can learn is 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 an amazing thing. Is an amazing thing, and so just continue to consistently challenge yourself to learn. And so now I'm not. I just didn't step in to take Claire's post, but I say Elizabeth's post. But and any of you that have anything else to add and need to be heard from, or your stories, please feel free to do so. In that way. Thank you for being here, though. Thank you
No,
so
I'm
much.
I'm glad that Elton jumped in. Heather, that was amazing, and those cards are just amazing. We need to start having more of those cards available to our audience. So, if someone wants to order the cards, how do they do that?
So they can go to my website, but I actually, for this lot, I provided the link for them electronically, so you can gain access to it right now.
No problem.
Because I do believe in being generous with information. I do this genuinely. So, but you can certainly buy my book.
Yeah.
So
All
there
right.
you go.
All
But
right.
the
So you can
cards, I
get
actually just provided the cards in the link in the chat.
Okay, so you can definitely get the book at Amazon and please write a review. So
Yes,
there's two
appreciated.
things that we do with Brightside is we do videos and we do reviews. The reason why we do videos is because anytime you're on YouTube, Google owns YouTube. And as you know, Google is this big search engine. And so every time you put a video on YouTube, it goes all over Google. So videos are the number one. I think 90% of people use video now for social media. When people are making decisions or purchases on Amazon, video is what resonates. When people want to watch a video, they make purchase decisions. And then reviews. So if you write a review for Heather, then Heather's audience will get to know you. And then Heather can write a review for you, and she can get to know your audience. It's one of the most credible ways to get noticed on social media and online. So writing a review is not just doing something for the other person, but it's also doing something for yourself. So become a reviewer, and we train people. So if you need a training or you need help on how to write reviews, I can show you how to do that. But we encourage you. So anyone, whether you have a coaching practice, whether you're a therapist, whether you write a book, you need reviews. And the more reviews you have, I was on someone's LinkedIn page and they had like 500 reviews. And I'm like, wow. Because, usually you ask your friend or colleague to write a review. But nowadays, you have to have more reviews on your LinkedIn profile, on your Facebook pages, because when people are looking you up, the first thing they're going to look at is your reviews. And it's not just about the review, it's the quality of who's writing the review. So if you have a great LinkedIn profile and you've written a review, that person's going to have more credibility because you have just added it. So I want you all to connect with each other and write reviews for each other, and it's a mutual thing. You write one for me, I write one for you. Now you can't do that on Amazon. Amazon has strict guidelines about doing mutual things, but you can do it on Facebook, you can do it on LinkedIn, you can do it on Google. So there's other places that will allow you to do the community thing. So thank you, Heather, and get the book. Create your own table. It's a fantastic book, and we would love it if you got it, and if you wrote her a review as well. So this is a great prosperous table. I'm now going to open the floor. So if anyone would like to raise their hands, or if you want me to go in the order of the screen, tell me, what does prosperity mean to you? And if you want to comment on what Heather just said. Okay, Dr. Madison.
Mhm. Hi, thank you. So I think prosperity can mean obviously a variety of things, right? But I think primarily it's knowing who you are as a person and accepting yourself for who you are. It's a methodology called autoethnography. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with that term, but essentially it just means study of self. And so I did that part as my PhD practice. How do I interact with meditation music? How does music or being in environments impact me? How can I artistically create environments that feel safe or secure to me versus, horrifying or uncomfortable? But then also in the classroom, it's really interesting because a lot of my master's and bachelor level students, unfortunately, don't know how to do the self-reflection process. And so it's kind of difficult teaching somebody self-reflection if they've never really done it before. And so I like to use the creative practice method. I try to make them pretend they're a painter, and I try to tell them, okay, imagine yourself being this painter and painting this painting. How did you make the decisions to do this? Sure, it could have been instinctual, but for the most part, there are methods to your madness. There is a reason as to why you're doing particular things. And so I think in order to be emotionally intelligent, but also in order to have prosperity, you need to have that willingness to learn and then also continuously do self-reflection.
Very impressive, very comprehensive. Wow, thank you so much. You're watching Discover Brightside. We're talking all things prosperity and emotional intelligence. If you have a comment, let us know. And you are on the Discover video podcast. And also make sure you get Heather's book, Create Your Own Table, and write a review. So thank you for watching.